If you like today's video, give it a thumbs up. If you like the channel, click subscribe. If you want to send me some free stuff, fucking do it. Really welcoming for it, especially if it's free beer. So I'm poor. Back to ABV TV, where I drink beer on the internet. Today, you may be able to tell by the uniquely purple can, we're drinking Coopers XPA. Coopers XPA is probably the newest beer that they've added to their core range. And it's kind of nice to see that they've expanded what they've been doing. For the long time, your options were green, red, and they're stout. That was it. The darker, which everybody kinds of forget about, and I think they sort of have as well. But that was basically all it was. And then now we're starting to get the XPA, the hazy. They did the competition, homebrew competition, where they released another version of a hazy IPA, to be honest. The Fruit of the Woods IPA. Brew A IPA they released 1 year for Gabs, and then turned that into their part of their homebrew range as well. If you're a brewer, you're probably familiar with it. But this little bad boy, it's probably one of the more recent additions, along with the Session Ale, which I think is the blue. Although I think they might have called that Pacific Ale now too. And what's the orange one? The mid-strength one. I feel like I went through this when I did the sparkling ale review. Anyway, he says beer kills brain cells. What? There we go. Look at that. That's a nice yellow colour, slightly opaque, which you kind of get with Coopers. That's because they obviously do have a second fermentation in the can when they added a little bit more yeast in there to give it its uniqueness. Good thing, another word there. The aroma of this one is definitely a little bit more citrus than you probably had from their beers in the past. I know this one does use lemon drop as a hop, which does obviously, as the name implies, a bit more of a lemon and a citrus kind of a flavour to it. I'm actually looking at the can to see if it actually tells me. Yeah, it does. Right down the bottom. Simcoe and lemon drop, so citrus, citrus hops that has gone into this one. 5.2% ABV, 37 IBUs, their own house malt and their own house yeast. Just smells like a beer that I should be drinking. So the funny thing is, when I first had this, I was kind of blown away because it was, different hops that Coopers probably traditionally don't use, which is Simcoe and lemon drop, as I mentioned, especially lemon drop because it is a reasonably new hop, and so it was really noticeable the first time I had this XPA, and it was definitely different to what you expected from Coopers in the past. But now that I've sort of sat on a few of these, and I've had a few more, those burst of flavours have sort of subsided quite a bit. Now, I don't know whether that maybe the last 6-pack that I bought, and full disclosure, they were bought from First Choice, which is owned by Coles. I'm currently employed by Coles, but they don't sponsor this because they don't give a fuck about me, like I'm just a pleb. But yeah, so I don't know if this is best after 8th of November, so it's okay, so it's probably not as fresh as you'd like it to be, so that's probably why those flavours have subsided a little bit. But yeah, it just didn't pack the punch like it did the first time I had it. Still good, still a nice XPA. And then, look, definitely one I would probably revisit on occasion, but it's not something that's going to be a standard go-to. I think, as we all know, those who have followed this channel, the 3 or 4 of you that do, and has watched every video, my go-to is always going to be Mountain Goats Lager. They're very enjoyable beer. But this isn't too bad. I think maybe it was fresher. Maybe those hop flavors would be a bit more dominant. I don't know. Well, maybe just my taste buds have just been shot to shit. Which probably happens when you drink a lot of beer. You probably should do some more palate cleansing. Fuck it, I'll just keep drinking beer. Who cares? I don't need to tell you about Coopers history. You probably already know everything about it. If you don't, there's this really cool thing on your computer called Google. It'll tell you everything. I use it. I just don't retain any of the information that I learn off it, clearly. I do want to talk about the packaging for Coopers. I don't know if I touched on this last time or not. I do like the way that they've used really bold colours and just a block bold colour to make their shit stand out in fridges. I think one of the things for brewers that they have to take into consideration is how's their product going to look like in a fridge on the shelf. You know, you're competing with probably literally thousands of other beers, so you've got to have something that's going to stand out, and branding is a real big part of that. And I think in beer, branding is really pivotal. For Coopers, they've worked out that those block colours are what's pivotal to their, I've got to stop saying pivotal, that's vital to their brand. You know, the bold green for the pale, bright red for the sparkling, the purple here for the XPA, the blue for that Session Ale, Pacific Ale, whatever it's fucking called, the orange for the mid-strength. They stand out in a fridge, especially in cans. Bottles, little bit harder because you've got a smaller label and it's still a predominantly brown bottle, but in terms of cans, I think that's where branding and can art has really exploded for craft beer. It's always been an important part of craft beer, but I think now brands are starting to realize there needs to be an aesthetic that people can see and recognize straight away. So it's not going to be a case of, you know, picking up I'm trying to think of a good example and I can't, but the point I was trying to get at is, no, you don't want a consumer to go in and look at a beer from a particular brewery that they know, but the branding looks a little different because it might be a limited release, so they've done something cool and different in the artwork, but if they don't recognize it, they may not pick it up and try it. So that consistent branding and having something that stands out is important to regulars, new potential drinkers. Pretty much it has a broader appeal. These guys do it really well. I think someone like Bent Spoke and their branding, similar kind of philosophy. When you look at their pale ale is blue, their red IPA is, funnily enough, red. Their black IPA, when they release it, funnily enough, is black. Sprocket is green. Crankshaft, Gab's #1 beer, is orange. Have I done Crankshaft on here? I'm gonna say I have, but I don't remember because memory shit. Anyway, But yeah, they're really good at doing that branding for craft beer as well, and making it very recognisable. When you walk in, you see it, you know it's Ben Spoke. And if you're already familiar with their product, you know it's going to be kind of good. Capital is a good example of that as well, with their branding is a little bit more simplistic, with their white and just a little bit of colour scheme, but you see the logo, you know it's them. Batch Brewing with their cans now, I think you see and you know what it is. And I think that's something that I think breweries need to really take a good hard look at, you know, especially when they're trying to grow and get out on a national scale, is making sure that that branding is recognisable to the drinker. Modus operandi have sort of got that nailed. You know, their cans, it's silver, there's a little bit of colour at the top which will indicate what style that it is, but it's the big MO. You go from there. My only criticism with Modus is that they have 3 beers and it's like 3 shades of green. So between the Sonic Prayer, the Pale, and then I think it's the mid-strength, or their XPA is like 3 shades of green. A touch confusing, guys, but yeah, you're getting there. So the weird tangent that I've gone on there is that it's why Coopers does such a good job with their block cars, is that even when you walk in and the fridge is at the back, you'll see the colours, you know straight away that it's Coopers, and you kind of know what it's going to be. And even if you haven't had the XPA before, you've had their other beers, so you know it's going to be probably suited to your palate. You know, it's going to be pretty rare that I think someone like Coopers is going to bring out a beer where their drinkers are not going to like it. So if I don't see Coopers making a mouth-watering, puckering sour, that's just not going to happen. I can see them doing an IPA, definitely. I can see them doing a lager or a pilsner, absolutely. Don't see them doing a Berliner Weiss or a Belgian triple. That's something that they're just not going to do, because their drinkers aren't going to be used to that sort of flavours and style. Anyway, fucking rambling, sorry. All off on a tangent, you don't care. All you care about is that it's Coopers XPA, and that you should go out and get it. Cheers.